the flute, the younger gopis. Now the gopis began to cry. And Bhagavatam tells us they stood there silently before the supreme object of their affection. The gopis said, Krishna, you are very cruel to us. You should not talk to us like this. You are lying. You know we are full-fledged. You know we are surrendered. Please accept us and don't speak in this cruel way. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are free to do whatever you like. But it is not worthy of your position that you treat us in such a cruel way. See? The gopis said, don't treat us in this cruel way. What were they asking? Don't send us back home. That's all they were asking. But they felt by sending us back home, you're being cruel. You're being cruel, you see. But for us, it's very different. For us, if after we have prasadam on Saturday evening, and we say, Krishna, I want to stay back to clean up. And if Krishna says, stay back and clean up, we'll say, Krishna, don't be cruel, I need to go home. It's the opposite way. If we stay back and do it for Krishna, then we'll say that is very cruel. But the gopis wanted to stay on. And Krishna denied. So they said that you are very cruel to us. Why do you do this? And now they say, we have come to you. We have left everything behind just to take shelter of your lotus feet. Of course, we know you're completely independent. You can do anything you like, so we cannot force you. But we can only request you, don't reject us. This is a nice prayer for us whenever we stand before Jagannath. That please, Krishna, Jagannath, you can do whatever you want, but you please don't reject us. This prayer is a very nice prayer. That Krishna should never reject us. If Krishna rejects us, we don't have life. So then the gopis say, we are your devotees. There are many devotees of Lord Narayana. They all worship him for what? For salvation. And then they say, he awards them salvation. And then they say, similarly, how can you reject us when we have no other shelter other than your lotus feet? Indirectly, the gopis were telling Krishna, we are not even asking for salvation. We are just asking that when you play the flute, give us a chance to stand and hear the flute. That's all we are asking. So then the gopis pray nicely. There is no doubt that your instructions are that as women we should be faithful to our husbands. Because that was Krishna's concern. Your husbands will be wondering where you are. There is no doubt that we should be merciful to children and we should take care of them. But at the same time, we know that the instructions of the Shastras are only observed perfectly if we are surrendered under your lotus feet. See the great knowledge of the gopis. The gopis are saying that yes, we have our duties, but our overriding duty, ahaitukam, ahaituki apratihata, our overriding duty is to surrender ourselves under your protection. And when we are under your protection, then everything becomes very pleasing. When Krishna heard this beautiful prayer of the gopis, then he became single-mindedly pleased with their single-minded devotion. This is Ananya Bhakti. This is what Prabhupada says in the purport as unalloyed devotion. Alloyed metal means mixed metal. Unalloyed means no mixing. Prabhupada got this term unalloyed when he was passing through the industrial sections of America. So this is not something you find in Shastras. It was found in America. Prabhupada went through all the factories and then he saw a sign that said unalloyed metal. And he asked the devotees, what does unalloyed metal mean? And the devotees said, that means the metal is pure. And Prabhupada said, this is how devotional should be. Devotional service should be unalloyed. See? So this is what the gopis were. So then Krishna became very pleased. And that is why Bhagavatam tells us, even though Krishna is paripurna kamam, he is completely self-sufficient. Just to please and reciprocate the devotees, he allowed the gopis to stay and render devotional service to him. And in that grove, for many, many days, Krishna performed the pastime of the rasa dance. And this rasa dance is considered the highest perfection because it was a moment when the gopis could intimately serve Krishna. And the greatness of this dance is each gopi at the time of the dance was genuinely thinking that only Krishna is dancing with me. This is potency of Krishna. Have you met great personalities who are devotees? They speak to you as if they know exactly what is in your heart. Sometimes you sit for Bhagavatam and if the speaker is very realized, you find as if the speaker is speaking about something that is actually only meant for you. But everyone feels the same way. Everyone leaves the Bhagavatam class thinking, oh, this one was for me. Oh, he knows my situation. But when you ask the speaker, they say, no, we only speak Bhagavatam. Why? Because this is Krishna. Krishna is in the heart of everyone. Therefore, every gopi was 10% surrendered to Krishna. Krishna was 10% surrendered to that gopi. And he made that relationship complete, whole, paripurna kama. And the gopi became self-sufficient. And did not even think that another gopi is also getting similarly complete satisfaction. This is greatness of Krishna. But what happened was, and now we come to the point of renunciation as being one of the rasas of Krishna and the gopis. What happened was each gopi started thinking, how wonderful this is, that Krishna is only mine, and Krishna is only with me, that he's spending maximum time with me. And the moment the gopis felt this way, Krishna is in the heart of all the gopis, so Krishna began to smile. He was not angry when he felt that, because when someone loves someone, they always feel you only belong to me, isn't it? When we have children particularly, we always think these children are mine, only mine. And sometimes husband and wife say, no, the child is more attached to me. No, child is more attached to me. Yeah, child only plays with you, but the child has emotional problems, comes to me. Always it happens. So every one of us exhibits this tendency in the world. We all want someone for ourselves. But in this material world, we want that person for ourselves so that we become happier. It boosts our ego. But the gopis did not want Krishna for themselves because it boosted their ego. Actually, they wanted Krishna for themselves because they felt that this is the perfection of existence. But Krishna thought, better I check this feeling, because no one should think that I am only their domain. This is Krishna's part, which is supremely swarat, independent. So Krishna sometimes is complicated personality. In the beginning of Bhagavatam, in the very first chapter, in the very first canto, in the very first verse, he says that he is swarat, meaning he is independent. No one can capture Krishna. So when the gopis thought that they were completely with Krishna and Krishna was completely with them, Krishna decided, wait a minute, I also have this independent feature of me, isn't it? So now he exhibits his independence on the strength of renunciation. And in that way, the gopis became very morose. They became very morose. And at that point, in the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 31st chapter, they sing the beautiful prayers of separation from Krishna. So it looked, like a very terrible, calamitous situation for the gopis, because suddenly Krishna disappeared. And they sing very nicely. Jayati te dikam janmana vraja shrayata indira shashvat atrahi dayata drishyata dikshutavakas tvayidrita savas tvam vichimvate jayati te dikam janmana vraja Shrayata Indira Shashvat Atrahi Dayita Drishyatan Dikshutavakas Tvayidrida Savas Tvam Vichimvate. This is a beautiful verse. And the gopis say, O beloved Krishna, your birth in this land of Vraja has made it exceedingly glorious. This is why Vrindavan is glorious, because Krishna walked. This center is glorious because Krishna is here. So wherever Krishna is, that place is glorious. And the gopis say, wherever you are, then Indira, the goddess of fortune, is always there. So wherever Krishna is, Prabhus and Matajis, we are always fortunate. If Krishna is not in our heart, that is greatest misfortune. And they say, it is only for your sake that we are actually maintaining our lives. See the mood of gopis. We cannot tell Krishna, Krishna, only because of you I am maintaining my life. Huh? Krishna says, then, okay, take your life. We will say, no, I can't. I'm maintaining my life for my wife, my children, my bank balance, CPF, all these things. But gopis felt nothing like that. They said, I'm maintaining my life for you. You are searching everywhere. We are searching everywhere for you. So please appear again before us. So actually this renunciation was very beautiful. Why? Because it increased the devotion of the gopis for Krishna. Isn't it true, Prabhus and Matajis, that even in this material world, when we lose contact with someone whom we love, when we are separated from them, how much heightened remembrance we have of them. So therefore, when Krishna renounces, he does not renounce in the sense of detaching himself from us. He renounces in the sense that we have to increase our devotional service for Him. And when we renounce this material world, we renounce to increase our devotional service for Krishna. So actually, separation in Krishna consciousness is not a painful affair. It is a sweet affair. And this the gopis showed that. And the gopis continued to remember Krishna in this way throughout the songs of separation. They chanted His names. They remembered Him in all His pastimes. And at the end of that, they say something very nice. Devakinandan tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmashapaham shravana mangalam shrimadatatam bhuvi granantiye burida janaha. They say the nectar of your words and the description of your activities, what are they? They are the soul and the life of those who are suffering in this material world. This message is for us actually. Because the gopis were never in material world and therefore they were not suffering. So this verse is actually for us. The gopis are instructing us that as long as we hear the description of Krishna's pastimes, as long as we hear the nectar of His words from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, these words will actually soothe the suffering of our hearts. So whenever you are down, Prabhus and Matajis, whenever you have great challenges of Krishna consciousness, even while doing devotional service, remember Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam. Increase your devotional service. Increase your remembrance of Krishna. And you will find that actually in that remembrance, the pain and the difficulties, they will go. The second effect of what the gopis show us in the form of renunciation is that kalmasapaham. Whenever we remember Krishna, all sinful reactions are eradicated. Why? Because sin means to forget Krishna. So when one remembers Krishna, how can there be sin? And how can there be sinful reaction? See the logic of it? Last point of the verse is that there will always be good fortune the moment we remember Krishna. And what is good fortune? Good fortune means service is always there for us to take up and to do for Krishna. So when someone approaches you and says, please Prabhu, Mataji, we have service, that is considered good fortune. Don't reject it. And these narrations of the gopis and Bhagavatam, we should broadcast it throughout the world, Prabhus and Matajis. That means we must take a Prabhupada's book and we must give it to someone. That's why yesterday Gopinath Prabhu presented this point of 50-50. That each one of us can broadcast the glories by taking the books and giving it to them. What is the value of this talk now? It's only for a few minutes. It will end. But when you give a book, that book is eternal. And the gopis say those who spread this message, they are considered to be the most munificent. And in that way, having sung and spoken with their heart and in deep prayer, the gopis begin to weep very loudly. After entire prayers of the songs of separation, they begin to cry. Why? They were very eager to see Krishna. And at that point of time, Krishna appears. Because he became very satisfied that the gopis have regained their humility. Sometimes when we become proud, Krishna will check us. Sometimes you'll find that we are embarrassed by material nature, even while in devotional service. That embarrassment is good. Sometimes a devotee comes up to us and says, Prabhu, cannot do this in Krishna consciousness. Mataji cannot chant this way. Our false ego immediately picks up and says, how can you tell me that? Who are you to tell me that? I'm older to you, or I'm younger to you, or I'm more senior to you. We see all these material considerations. I'm more educated to you. I went for Bhakti Sastri course. Did you go for Bhakti Sastri course? No. I've gone for the ISKCON disciple course. Have you completed it? No. All these things we speak about. But we don't realize that every time this happens, instead of becoming humble, we'll become proud. Those who become proud, there is no space in the heart for Krishna. Those who become humble, there is plenty of space in the heart for Krishna. And that is why Krishna wanted to teach us the value of humility when there is renunciation. Those who renounce, automatically they become humble. You will realize this is very true in our own lives. Every time we have renounced something, we are forced to become humble. Sometimes we don't renounce something. Sometimes something renounces us. Have you noticed that in material life? Sometimes we think, I'm very great, Prabhu, I'm renouncing you. But sometimes the life is such, Prabhu, you are being renounced. We are renouncing you. That becomes more painful to us. It pinches us, But all this is useful. That is why Krishna's pastime of renunciation with the gopis is very instructive. It is instructive for us. And in response to their query, Krishna says something very nice. He says, friends and society show affection for each other only to benefit themselves. But you have shown me what true friendship is. Because in actual world, there is no true friendship. Why? Because everyone is just expecting benefit for themselves. Then Krishna goes on to say, sometimes persons who devotedly serve, they fail to reciprocate. And when they fail to reciprocate, they also become morose in this material world. So Krishna ends to say, but the reason why I do not reciprocate immediately with you sometimes is so that you intensify your devotion for me. So Krishna told and explained to the devotees, the gopis, the poor man, sometimes you give him some wealth. He becomes very exalted and happy, isn't it? Because he has never had wealth, Krishna says. Then Krishna says, then he loses that wealth. What happens? He gains value for it. He becomes more anxious for it. So that which you gain fleetingly and you lose actually increases your remembrance of that object. It's scientific. So in the same way, Krishna told the gopis, whatever time that you have with me, you should never take it for granted. This is what Krishna's lesson to us in devotion service is. Our time is going, Prabhu said, Mataji's. It is really going. Even now it is going. But if we don't use that time for Krishna, we are taking Krishna for granted. And after patiently explaining this wonderful science of service to the gopis, Krishna then ended the entire chapter with a most wonderful verse. You can chant with me this verse. Na paraye, Na pareham, Niravadya samyujam, Swasadu krityam, Vibudha susapiyaha, Yama bhajandu, Jarakeha sankrilaha, Samvrichya tadva, Pratiyatu sadhuna, Na pareham, Niravadya samyuja, Swasadu krityam, Vibudha yusapivaha, Yama bhajandu, Jarageha shrinkala, Samvrichya tadva, Pratiyatu sadhuna. This verse comes in the 10th canto, 32nd chapter, 22nd verse. And this verse is quoted by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. The translation is very nice. Krishna says, because of all this greatness of your devotional service, I find myself in an inexplicable situation. And what is that? I am unable to repay my debt for your spotless service. We are always indebted to Krishna because we can never repay the debt to our eternal spiritual master. Krishna is always our guide and he has taken us out from the darkness of ignorance. So we cannot repay our debt to him. But to the gopis, Krishna said, I can't repay my debt to you. Why? Because of your spotless service. Even within this lifetime of Brahma, I cannot repay my debt to you. Then Krishna says, your connection with me is beyond reproach. It is perfect. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are very difficult to break. And Krishna ends by saying, please let your own glorious deeds be your own compensation. Such a nice point. He says, I'm defeated, gopis. I tried to renounce you. I can't. I came back to you. I thought by renouncing you, you will forget me. Instead, you have increased your remembrance of me. I thought that if I asked you for dust, you will say, no, I want salvation. But you're willing to give me bags and bags and bags of dust. I thought by blowing the flute in the evening, you all cannot come because you are in difficulty. But you dropped everything and you came. I thought by putting you in most difficult situations, you will forget me. but you have not forgotten. I thought by cheating you after staying 11 years here and leaving you, and then after cheating you again by promising you I'm coming back very quickly, I thought you will give me up. But despite all my cheating of you, despite all my cruelty to you, you have just increased your devotional remembrance of me. In that situation, how can I repay my debt to you? And Prabhupada says, this is the only time in the entire history of Bhagavatam when Krishna declares that he is defeated. This is the only history that we have where Krishna puts both hands up and says, I surrender. I cannot fight you, gopis. You have won the day. And that is why the purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, 4th chapter, 180 verse. Prabhupada concludes this point. He says, in conclusion, the gopis became eternally glorious by their behavior and by the Lord's temporary absence. Why? Because their intense remembrance of him was so great that Krishna could not repay his debt to him. And that is why Prabhu and Mataji's Prabhupada concludes so nicely by saying this point. He says that even though Krishna is not visible at present in Vrindavan, he is not away from Vrindavan for a moment. In other words, if we continue with uninterrupted devotional service, because we don't have any motive in our heart except to serve Krishna and the devotees, then Krishna will never leave us for a moment. Not even a single moment. This is Vrindavan. It is not the physical form of Vrindavan that we should hanker for. Going to Vrindavan once a year is nice, but being in Vrindavan atmosphere 24 hours a day is what the gopis were. That's why it didn't matter to them that Krishna was not there or whether he was there. He was always being remembered by him. Even when he stole their garments, he did that only to fulfill their desire, isn't it? When he stole their garments, the gopis were bathing in Yamuna. And they were bathing because they were supposed to pray to Krishna that he would become their husbands. They prayed to Mother Durga, goddess Katyani. Why? Because they wanted to have Krishna as their husband. But Krishna thought how to become their husbands. Because they were already married. Husband means chosen Lord. And for them, their chosen Lord was always Krishna. So he thought the best way is that I will take their garments away while they are bathing. And I will tell them that the only way to please me, and if you want your garments back, is to appear before me without garments. And Prabhupada says in Shastra, no woman appears before anyone except her husband without any clothes. Therefore, by standing before Krishna in that way, Krishna confirmed to the gopis that whatever situation of life they are in, he will always be their chosen Lord. This is the chastity of his pastime. And Prabhupada ends on this point in the gopis' ras dance with Krishna. Prabhupada says that the gopis were with Krishna. They were dancing. But the gopis were 8 years of age, and so was Krishna. At 8 years old, which child has lusty desires? No, they are innocent in their hearts. So it is a mistake for us to see Krishna's affection for the gopis along the lines of material enjoyment. They were 8 years old. Their love for Krishna was anything but lusty. And Prabhupada goes on in Krishna book to say that the gopis were given the chance to enjoy with Krishna in the Ras dance every single night while their physical bodies were asleep. They were actually with Krishna in their spiritual bodies. It is found in Krishna book. So that makes it very clear that the gopis were highly chaste and highly pure. We should never mistake the gopis' love for Krishna on any platform remotely material. And we should never ever think that we can equal the gopis' love for Krishna. We should become servants of the 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 gopis. Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalayo Das. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Gurudev ki, Taigora Premanande. I can take one question before we leave. Would anyone like to ask a question? Any violent objections? It's so nice to see so many devotees for Bhagavatam. Please keep coming. Bhagavatam doesn't depend on speaker. Bhagavatam depends on Bhagavatam. Always remember that. Bhagavatam never depends on speaker. Bhagavatam depends on Bhagavatam. Same thing for Kirtan. Kirtan doesn't depend on singer. Kirtan depends on chanting the holy names of the Lord. Don't be in the habit of calling and asking who's doing Kirtan today. Who's taking class today? Bhagavatam is Bhagavatam. Prabhupada said, if you don't know anything, you read 2 lines of the purport, close the book, Haribol, end of class. That's fine. That's enough. 20 years ago, that's how we started classes on Bhagavatam. I remember the first time I had to take class was because all the devotees who were supposed to take class, either they were sick, or they were going to die, or they were in the hospital. It was amazing. 3 devotees. First choice, second choice, third choice. All of them were either at the point of critical condition, or they had some problem. So then I called my Guru Maharaj and said, Maharaj, I'm not prepared for the class. Maharaj said, no problems. Sit down there, chant Jai Radha Madhava, read the purport, chant the shloka, repeat the shloka, read word to word. And after reading word to word, read the translation, repeat translation, read the purport, finish reading the purport, read again, say Hari Bol, thank you very much. And that's exactly what I did. And after I finished that in the Ram temple, you won't believe it, somebody came up to me and said, that was a very nice class. And I told him, it was the purport. He said, the purport is the class. This man had no connection to our movement. He said, in our tradition, purport is the class. It is the class of the Acharya. He was from Sri Sampradaya. He told me when a purport is given by Acharya, that is the class. So the class is very nice. And he walked away. I never saw him again. And I remember calling Guru Maharaj and telling him, Maharaj, this is what happened. And Maharaj said, foolish man, you don't have faith in Prabhupada. And this man has more faith in Prabhupada. So why are we after anything else? It's the mind that stops us. Just hearing the Prabhupada is enough. That's why when Krishna spoke that verse, the verse of not repaying the debt, there's one point I forgot. The word Niravadya Samyujam is very important. It's the qualification of the gopis. Krishna says, those who are completely free from deceit. This is the greatness of the gopis. That is why we come to hear Bhagavatam, so that we don't become deceitful. By choosing who to hear from and who not to hear from, eventually we become deceitful. Because we are trying to find the ways not to hear Bhagavatam. Don't do that. Come and hear. Make this our life. Thank you very much for your time. I won't see you all next week because I'll be away. And I won't see you all the week after also because I'll be away. But Krishna willing, let us continue. Please come to hear the Bhagavatam. Continue to take shelter of each other's devotional service and serve each other so that we can become very much fixed in nice devotional service. Hare Krishna. Also, Damodar month is here. The first day